distinguished the members from the media. I would like to begin. Thank you for being here, and of course, you are going to have an opportunity to get some relevant questions. But let me, when we talk about the members or the 1,000 entrepreneurs, uh, what we are talking about making a positive difference in their life. So that is what really exciting. And specifically, when we talk about entrepreneurs, we are referring them to the small and medium enterprises. Okay, so I'll just give you very, very little information about BNI India, and then based on your questions, we will be answering those questions. Last 12 months, I'm just talking in terms of the business happened in India. Last 12 months, we were able to, between the members, we were able to generate a business worth of 30,516 crores of business. Does that make any, I'll give you an idea what how the BNI is creating that impact in the community, especially entrepreneur community. When we talk about this business and these figures, we can also imagine the kind of the economy what we are supporting locally. So with that, I'm not going to talk too many statistics here. I would like to give it back to Reith for the next proceedings.
நமஸ்காரம் எல்லாம் நல்லா இருக்கீங்களா? Very good, super. Good to be back here, Tamil Nadu. Originally, my grandparents are from the Trichy area, but I was born and brought up in Bangalore. I live in Singapore now, but super happy to be here, part of our largest conference that we are having with members. Like Hemu told us before, நம்ம ஒரு business owner வந்து small and medium scale entrepreneur எப்படி அவங்க வந்து globally எடுத்து நம்ம அவங்களோட பிசினஸ் போய் குளோபலா பிளக்இன் பண்ணலாம். நம்ம வந்து தமிழ்நாடுல திருச்சியில எதனா பிசினஸ் பண்றதுனா கூட எப்படி அவங்கள globally we are able to help them. BNI is one of the best ways for any small and medium scale entrepreneur to grow their business. We have crossed the 50,000 entrepreneur mark in India. We are on our way to 100,000 entrepreneurs. But more importantly, we are super blessed and happy to have our founder and chief visionary officer, Dr. Ivan Misner, to be with us. He has got 77 countries he can be in. Okay. அவர் இங்க வரதுனாலே நமக்கு ஒரு பெரிய பிளெஸிங். நம்ம இங்க அவங்க வந்து நமக்கு இங்க நம்ம to be around us and to be celebrating that 50,000 member mark is a big blessing. So I wish you all a good success, and I hope you had your breakfast. I think Reith will continue the program, and I'm happy to answer questions for you in my broken Tamil and English as well. All right.
Namaste. It is wonderful to be back to India. I think this is my 5th visit to your beautiful country. It's wonderful to be back again. I've been asked to talk a little bit about how BNI got started and where we are today after 38 years. BNI really is an example of necessity being the mother of invention. I needed referrals for my consulting practice. I was a management consultant. My doctoral work is in organizational behavior, and I needed referrals. And I put together a group of people who I trusted, they trusted me, and we started passing referrals to each other. From the very beginning, we only took one person per profession to join a chapter. And in that very first chapter, someone came to me and said, "This is amazing. I could get a lot of business out of a group like this. Would you help me open my own chapter?" And I actually said no. I said, "No, this isn't what I do. I'm a business consultant. I don't run a network." And she talked me into it, and I opened a second chapter. And at that second chapter, we had 2 people come who couldn't join because of a conflict. We only take one person per profession. Their profession was represented. And both of them said, "This is great. I could get a ton of business out of this. Would you help me open up my own group?" And I said, "No, this isn't what I do. I'm a business consultant." And they talked me into it. And at the end of a year, we had 20 chapters. And it was at that point that I realized that I had struck a chord in the business community. I had no idea that there was so much hunger for referrals. You see, we don't teach this in colleges and universities anywhere in the world. We don't teach it in the US. We don't teach it in any country that I know of in the United States, how to build your business through referrals. And so it was in December of 1985 that I had what I call my Brody moment. If you've seen the movie Jaws, you'll remember in the movie, they have a sheriff. His name is Sheriff Brody, and at the end of the movie, he was throwing chum, blood and fish guts out into the ocean. And you see the shark for the very first time. It comes up, it's huge, it scares him. He turns around to the captain of the boat and he says, "You're going to need a bigger boat." And that was my Brody moment when I realized I'm going to need a bigger boat. This is going to be something substantial. And so I started doing calculations as to just how big BNI could possibly be. And I started working on those calculations in 1986. You have to remember, in 1986, there was no Monsieur Google. You couldn't go to Google and figure out calculations. So I went to a library and I pulled out reference books to figure out, how many cities and population. And I was looking at just at the US at that point. It took me about 6 months to do the calculations. And at the end of 6 months, I calculated that someday BNI could possibly have 10,000 chapters. And I remember telling a friend of mine back then, it was June of 1986. I remember telling him, hey, his name was Bruce. I said, "Bruce, I think BNI could someday have 10,000 chapters." And he said, "And how many chapters do you have now, Ivan?" I said, 30. He said, 30? You have 30 chapters and you think someday you could have 10,000 chapters? I said, "Yeah, absolutely. I think it's possible." And in 2020, in the middle of COVID, BNI crossed the 10,000 chapter mark. We are a unique business in that we track the value that we bring to the communities as opposed to the income of the organization. And with the 10,000 chapters in 2020, all the way to today, 2023, we have had 38 years of consecutive growth. There are very few, if any, businesses in the world that can say they have grown for 38 years in a row. I know you're going to have plenty of questions, so I'm happy to answer your questions in just a couple of minutes, but let me leave you with this. We, in the early 90s, started to go international. We're now in over 75 countries around the world. And in the trailing past 12 months, from yesterday to 12 months ago, BNI has passed, I think it was about 14 million referrals, and we generated for our members 21.7 billion, that's billion with a B, 21.7 billion US dollars worth of business for our members. If BNI were a country, if you compare what the United Nations estimates are for GDP, there would be more than 100 countries with a lower GDP than what BNI generated in closed business for our members. We are, in fact, changing the way the world does business, and most importantly, we're making a difference in local communities throughout the world. I am particularly proud of BNI India. You have done an amazing job of growth here in BNI India. And as I travel around the world, I promise you, I do not Mac Hughes me talk around the world. I don't say this to every country. One of the things that amazes me about the members, about the people, about the entrepreneurs in India is that you really practice our core, one of our principal values of lifelong learning. You are sponges for knowledge and information. More so than almost any country I have seen around the world. Entrepreneurs here want to learn how to build a successful business. And most importantly, you are building a successful business. And I believe within the next 5 years, BNI India will be the largest country in the world for BNI. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take questions whenever you're ready.